Hello and welcome back to PG and the Doc. Here we are filming DJR Central. Doc, why are we here?
Because it's better than my living room, PG. I think that's why we're here. And the cars are back from New Zealand. They came back on Tuesday and the guys have been working pretty hard getting them turned around and ready for Tasmania in a few weeks' time.
Well, there's a lot to see behind us, a lot to talk about. Let's get into it.
But every opportunity you have to embed the drivers within the team and have them here at the workshop, it's better for everyone.
These are the questions we need to know.
We have
DJ?
a legend on set.
Good to see you. Does the world know that DJR is the semi-official supplier for...
Settle down. I'm not going to buy into that, but they won the championship and that's really all that matters. Any other car that we're competing against is a car we want to beat.
Hello and welcome back to PG and the Doc. We're here at DJR Central. As you can see, a lot happening going on behind us. So tell us what it's about. I know you're not a mechanic. Obviously, those hands have never touched spanners in their lives.
Settle down.
But what's actually happening behind us?
So the cars returned from New Zealand on Tuesday, and the way in which they get around these days is we pack both of the race cars and all of the spares in a 40-foot container. So the container arrived, in fact, it's taking up a fair bit of space in the car park at the minute. That arrived on Tuesday. The guys have got the cars out of the truck and basically they're getting ready for Tassie.
When you say getting ready, how much stuff, if you look behind, they still at the moment look like cars, but is it what's called in the business sub-assembly? Are there other parts around here where they're doing the engine or the gear or the transmission or whatever and then they come and put it together, or is it a jigsaw puzzle that comes completely apart?
Well, most of the components on the cars will obviously be lifed, but a lot of them will go through a sub-assembly process. We have sub-assembly here in-house, particularly the suspension components and of course the gearboxes. With the transaxles this year, there's a limit on how many times you can crack the cases open.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's a new thing for this year. They've tightened it back quite a bit, so they don't get a birthday as regularly as what they have certainly in the past. But basically, pretty much everything that's bolted onto the cars from the mechanics goes through that process. Everything's lifed, everything's checked, everything's ready to go.
So is this transaxle thing, is that supposedly cost saving? Or, I mean, it's one of the things that has been proven to be a problem with the Gen 3 car.
Well, it's even before that. So when Car of the Future brought the transaxle in for the first time, it was made by an Australian company called Albans. And then a few years into running with the Albans, we changed to get it to a supplier called X-Track. And X-Track have got a phenomenal track record. Even in Formula One. I mean, I don't know if they do any F1 gearboxes anymore, but they used to do them for teams like Haas and I think even Toro Rosso back in the day. But basically, the gearing in there is not dissimilar to gearing that you would see in an LMP2 car. Like it's pretty full on, pretty tough stuff.
When you say an LMP2 car, just to explain, they're the cars they run at Le Mans for 24 hours.
With a hell of a lot
more
downforce. So that's a sort of,
a lot more durability, a lot more strain than a supercar.
Well, I remember when Peter Digby came out, Peter Digby is the former chair of X-Track, he came to the Gold Coast race and they had in mind the gears that they were going to use in the supercars transaxle, saw these things getting a heap of curbs, saw the way that the drivers wring their neck and went, hey, we need to spec these things up a bit. And in fact, that X-Track agreement was quite unique in that a lot of the parts were warranted. They were warranted for a certain period of life, and it was a pretty good deal for the teams because it meant that we knew what we were going to get. So the transaxles themselves, the way in which they run the seals this year and have a limited number of seals, it's about cost containment. It's about ensuring that these things get to mileage and that we're not pulling apart necessarily good bits. Just looking for that extra bit of performance.
Okay, so before we get too far down the rabbit hole of technology, the one thing I don't see here getting gussied up, if you like, are the drivers. How often do they come here?
Well, they were here yesterday. We had a team lunch yesterday, and the drivers were there for that, which is fantastic. So
what did they eat? No, these are the questions. These are the questions we need to know.
Well, there's a ripper little pub just down the road from us here in Stapleton that we frequent from time to time, especially when we've had a bit of success on a race weekend. We like to take everyone out for a bite to eat, and on the company credit card, it's fantastic.
So you don't go to Yatla Pies, which is down the road the other direction?
Well, I have to admit, on the way to work this morning, I did get two mini bite pies, and they're fantastic.
Good to see that the Doc's got a healthy diet.
I paid full price.
As you can see, it works so well.
I paid full price for them too, you know.
Full price?
Yeah.
Deary gracious me.
They're good.
So the drivers are here to do team meetings, but what else do they do here? Obviously, these days, bro, it's not like the DJ days where Dick would be over there covered in oil with spanners and things. Well, Brodie does do a bunch of that.
Well, interestingly, so Brodie competed in the TA2 Enduro at Queensland Raceway.
This is Trans Am cars.
This weekend just gone with Nash Morris, and that car spent a bit of time in here with a few of the blokes swinging spanners and giving it a bit of a tune.
Is that allowed?
Of course it is.
Oh.
You've got to prepare a car before a race weekend.
Oh, I thought they'd have cost containment in TA2. Does the world know that DJR is the semi-official supplier for...
Settle down. But we had...
but you didn't win. They didn't win.
No, they didn't, but they had a good run. I mean, I think Alice Buckley and Tim Slade won for the second year in a row, and they were pretty good there last time around too.
Right.
So good to see. But that's a ripper little series at TA2 and the Trans Am. They're good cars.
Well, they've got V8s.
Back to the drivers though. The drivers are here quite often, a lot more often than what people might appreciate. And one of the things that we have both drivers on this year, and we've had in the past too, we have them looked after from a physio point of view, but also from a training point of view. So both of the guys are here every week doing training up in the gym, which is just fantastic. And it's motivational for the team. Seeing these guys put in and really focus their efforts on ensuring that they can deliver every time they're in the race car.
Right. Okay. So that's part of the team headquarters.
It's a part of the esprit de corps of the whole place.
Yep.
If the drivers are involved and actively involved and part of the team, everyone goes together, everyone's pulling in the same direction. It makes a massive difference.
So you don't have any drivers who are out selling second-hand cars or flying aeroplanes?
Well, you let drivers do whatever they need to do to get the best out of themselves, but every opportunity you have to embed the drivers within the team and have them here at the workshop, it's better for everyone.
Right. So looking behind us, there are more than 2 race cars here at the moment. Obviously there's a lot of work going on, but, excuse me, why so many cars?
So we've got, in total on our balance sheet, we have 6 Gen 3 race cars. And
does that include the one that's in America, or did Roger
no.
Penske paid for that one?
No, Roger doesn't have a Gen 3. Ford Motor Company bought a Gen 3 car from us. They bought Will Davison's first car from 2023 that ran up until Bathurst. So in total, including the prototype, we've built 8. But we have our 2 race cars. We have a spare that's currently with Jimmy White and with Erebus, getting a bit of a birthday before that comes back here to be our fully completed spare. And we've got 3 other cars that are fully built here at the moment.
So under the regulations, you say you've got a fully built spare. If you enter a race meeting, do you have to keep that chassis, so you can't just stamp a chassis number on and roll it in and say, oh look, we fixed it overnight?
No. It's not like the dirty old days back in the Group C days and things like that where a bit of shenanigans went on.
Right.
But the way it works is that the car you enter for the weekend, that's the car you got. So a lot of teams will have spare cars, and we're very fortunate to have spare cars here. It puts you in good stead if you have a bit of a rough one.
Right.
It ensures, I mean, you always want to make sure you've got your best car on the track, but the other 3 cars that we've got here are race ready. They're built to the same specification as the cars that we're racing week in, week out, but those spares are effectively ready to go. There might only be a certain number of hours to get them fully ready to go and loaded in the truck if that's a direction that we had to take.
One of the interesting things, I was just talking to some of the guys a second ago, and they said that one of the important jobs they have is the panel fit, making sure everything's perfectly correct.
Well, it's really important. It's really important. You think about it. Supercars have spent a small fortune and going to windshield, the wind tunnel in the United States, in North Carolina. I mean, first of all, supercars police our cars to a very high standard. So supercars have a 3D scanner. We have one here, and a lot of teams
have to interrupt you.
We have a legend on set.
Good to see you.
Cameo appearance.
See,
it's
the real world.
He's here every day.
Well, he just loves it, doesn't he, really?
He lives and breathes for it, And look, one of the great things about the old boy is...
Does he like being called the old boy?
He doesn't have a say in it.
Oh.
But the investment he has in all the people here. Yep. I was just up in Karen's office, who's our new CFO, and in her office at the moment, we've got a list of all the staff who've ever worked for DJR.
Wow.
And DJ has kept that list. It was initially set up by Roy McDonald, who was Dick's first employee. He used to work for him at the Servo before working for DJR at Daisy Hill, and he was with DJR up until 2014, and even after that, we still had him weld mufflers and various things for us. He's a ripper Roy boy. But The thing with DJ,
How many people are on that list?
there's a lot of names. But the reason we got the list out is because we wanted to get the start date for when Keith Chesterton started with us, which was, I think, the 1st of November 1986. And KC's a guy who's been with us a long time. He's a spray painter, and he's one of the doyens of our place. He's a really special person. But the thing with DJ, he's here every day. He takes genuine interest in all the staff, knows their partners, knows their family, takes a genuine interest. So to have the guy whose name's above the door take the time to really be part of the team.
Yep.
Know all of our people and be so heavily invested in them. It's special for everyone. We're very lucky to have the great man.
Now, we were talking a second ago about what your drivers are up to. And it's interesting this week that 2 other drivers from other teams are going to be doing other things outside supercars. Have you driven poor old Chaz Mostert away from supercars, that he's now having to go overseas for his future?
I think if you're a driver and you get an opportunity to race in IMSA or do any of those things, of course if it fits within your schedule, you take that call when you jump on the first flight out of here. These guys, any opportunity they get to park themselves in a professionally prepared race car, it's one you have to take.
So how is the situation now with Chaz?
We just get on with it, mate. We just get on with it.
So is he getting a Christmas card this year?
I don't know. We send our partners Christmas cards. We send our friends and our Shell V-Power teammates Christmas cards. But I'm not sure that we send them to any other drivers. Maybe drivers who are out of contract. We might send a Christmas card.
Some of you trying to butter up. Yeah, okay. So there's more going out than you might think.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, I used to hand write them back in the day. I used to hand write the greeting and put it, personalise. I took a trick from my former political life. You start the Christmas cards in June.
Oh.
So you start them in June, and you could do 1,000 Christmas cards. And if you start 6 months out, you got plenty of time to get them all done.
Whereas these days there are many people in the political world have what are called auto sign pens.
Well, you don't see too many auto pens in Australia, but presidents of the United States have been using auto pens as far back as I think the 1930s, 1940s.
Well, and the Beatles used to get their mates to sign for them. I saw that on Antiques Roadshow the other night.
Stevie J was in here today. Look, this might affect eBay prices, but Stevie J tells a great story of when he was a young fella. He would sign for Dick and for JB.
Oh, really?
So I think if you've got something hanging on the wall and you didn't put it in front of either of those 2 icons of the sport yourself, maybe just check it. Might be a Stevie J special.
Oh, there's Dick's going back again. Obviously, there's a lot going on today, which is good to see. As you say, he's actually hands-on. He's not just sitting in his office playing Sudoku or something.
Solitaire is his game of choice, I think you'll find. But having him here is just, it's extraordinary. And it's really funny, when we have people join us from outside, they're surprised at how involved and hands-on he is.
Right.
And he takes, not just that he takes a genuine interest in what we're doing and in our people, he knows the cars. He can talk to the drivers in their language. It's really special.
Okay. So he's coming to Tasmania for the next round of the championship. What are you looking for in Tassie? Obviously, you've got a fair bit of momentum, but you're also pretty patchy. Let's be honest.
No, I don't think we're patchy.
Well,
we've
by your standards.
No, we've been genuinely consistent this year, and that's been a massive improvement from where we were in 2025. So our expectation and what we're hoping to achieve in Tassie is obviously to get the best results we can, but to be consistent throughout the 3 races across the weekend.
But there are people who'll tell you if you win all the races, you win the championship. Except that doesn't really apply anymore. How do you pace the team? This is an important thing. How do you pace the team now that you've got the finals situation going on?
Well, you aim to get the best results you can week in, week out, regardless of the bigger picture. So you're always thinking about, okay, look, how do we ensure that we make the finals? And then when you're in the finals, it's a whole different kettle of fish as well. But when we're going through the sprint rounds of the Repco Sprint Championship and the Repco Sprint Cup, rather, we want to win. Every time we put a car on track, we want to win. Now, will we perhaps heed a bit of caution in the heat of battle when the time comes? Yeah, maybe we will. But consistency is the most important thing.
But it's like the Christmas cards, isn't it? You start now, so that when it's celebration time at the end of the year, all the hard work's done. But the team that won the championship last year admitted at the time that they had a specific finals program, how to make their cars perform at the circuits where they assumed they were going to make the cut. Didn't matter if they were first or last below the cut line, but then they had set up a situation where they were practicing, if you like, for those races.
I'm not gonna buy into that, but they won the championship, and that's really all that matters. I mean, for us, the way we prosecuted last year was similar in a way. We saw the finals series as an opportunity for us to get our act together before things really kicked off, and it's not dissimilar to how we're prosecuting this year. But if we can lead from the front, that's what we want to do.
Looking at the championship overall, but also the whole ecosystem around supercars at the moment, obviously we've had a change of CEO at Supercars. There have been some other management changes. Barclay Netherfold's involved. There was talk that they might recruit you or your new CEO. Is there a degree of disruption around supercars racing at the moment?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Barclay Netherfold is a guy who we know very well. He's obviously led the race consortium to buy the series, and the teams were significant owners of the series with Archer Capital before the race consortium took it over. But he's a known commodity to us. He's someone who knows the business really, really well. It's under good stewardship with Barclay at the helm.
Looking at the championship going forward, though, Tasmania's next, and after that,
Darwin.
Couldn't get any more extreme, could it? Tassie in autumn, which is winter for the rest of the world, let's be honest, and Darwin in winter, which is summer for the rest of the world. How do you cope with that as a race team, putting the package together, even with your people management? You know, there's every chance somebody's going to come home from Tassie with some sort of bug, and then you're heading off to the heat.
Well, you've got to look after your people. But interestingly enough, last year we worked with Supercars to deploy some engine temperature mapping based off of ambient temperature that really impacted both of those events because of the extremes you talked about, extreme heat, extreme cold. So we go there again this year, and I know that Supercars are undertaking very similar work with the Toyota engine for the first time that it faces the Tassie extremes as well. So it's quite interesting. So it shows you how tight it is in this championship. When we talk about parity, when there's been parity differences, it's not really all that much there, but it shows up on the racetrack, it shows up in the results because there's not much between the best teams, there's not much between the best drivers. Now,
Darwin has been a bit problematical, hasn't it, with this engine temperature thing, straight line handling, as Paul Morris used to always call it. You had a bit of a deficit in the straight line handling with the Mustang up there. Are you confident that when you go this year that it'll be parity on the straight?
We have faith in the Ford homologation team being 888 and in Supercars that it should be good to go.
You're being very political and unusually so.
No, I'm not. We can worry about this at a macro level now. It's fantastic. We're not at the coalface of having to deal with this shit anymore.
So again, this comes back to the fact that you're not the homologation team anymore. So it's somebody else's problem.
All we care about are these two cars behind us. We don't care about the other Fords. Any other car that we're competing against is a car we want to beat.
Right. And what's your history like in Tasmania?
Well, in Tasmania, if you go back to the very first race this team ever competed in 1981, it was a win. So it's been happy hunting ground for us before. We weren't that flash there last year, which is unfortunate. So we were hoping to have a better run this time around.
So 1981, roll the clock back. So it would have been Dick.
I wasn't alive or around at the time myself.
No, but you're a student of history. So you're currently, how many people do you take to the races?
Including all the commercial team, it's a better part of 20 people.
Right. So Dick would have been there with 2 people probably.
And
DJ,
Gilly, Roy Boy, it would have been DJ's brother Dino, and there likely would have been a few others as well, but it would have been a much smaller unit than what we have today.
Right. And one car and no transporter.
I don't know if DJ had the F truck and the trailer at that point in time. I'm not sure how he got to events in 81. I should ask him. He's just over there.
We ask him in a minute. As a milestone, how does the team feel about going back to the route?
Oh, it's a special.
Is that the same place? Is that the same though every year when you go there?
Yeah, it's a special. It's a special place for Dick and Gilly because obviously it's their first win there, of course. But they've got so many friends in Tassie. I mean, previously they've always stayed at Longford with some great friends there too. They're very, very well connected with not only the circuit but Tassie as a place and Launceston as a city.
Right, and then everybody comes back here to the workshop again. How long is the turnaround between Tassie and actually having to put the cars, because it's the truck, to take them up to Darwin?
It's a lot shorter than obviously what we've had between these New Zealand events, with cars being in 40-foot containers on the water. So it's a shorter turnaround, and we start to get back into that cadence of having supercars events more frequently, which is fantastic.
And that's something that the series really does need, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The upset, if you like, or disconnection through the first part of the year, this year, there has been no cadence. And we've seen it in Formula One. The interest just died away completely, and then it has to spark up
again.
It's
a real challenge. So we've seen supercars, we've expanded our calendar by two events. One event compared to last year, but two events compared to what the default requirements within the team's racing charter, which is the instrument that we go racing with, effectively sets out. So it's a big investment to expand the calendar. But we need that cadence. But the challenge for supercars challenge for supercars and their broadcast partners is fitting where those events are to ensure that we get the maximum out of it. Now, obviously, when we get to the end of the year, and particularly the Enduros, Bathurst especially, but the final series, we're not competing with the ball sports, because by the time we go
well,
racing...
nobody cares about cricket anyway, really, do they?
Well, cricket's a pretty popular sport.
Only in South Australia.
No, across the country, I think you'll find. But when you particularly look at Bathurst, the NRL Grand Final's been one and done, the AFL Grand Final's been one and done. There's a lot of eyeballs on our cars that weekend in October, and from that point onwards, there's a lot more attention on when we go racing, because we're genuinely not competing with the other sports in the way that we normally do.
So why doesn't Supercars run a summer series?
Well, it's talked about all the time. It's something that's revisited on a fairly regular basis. But at the end of the day, that comes down to broadcasters. It comes down to who's footing the bill and who's paying the bills, and how that all works. To get that in sync would be quite a significant shift in terms of how we've done things in the past.
And it's a financial problem as well for the teams, I guess.
Well, one of the things that we do, of course, is, we've joked about it before, Fair Work requires that we give 4 weeks paid leave a year. So we get a lot of leave out of the way over that Christmas break. But if you think about what supercars have done over the course of the past 12 months or so, with the introduction of the final series, we've obviously had the Enduro Cup for a long time. We've now got the Sprint Cup, the Enduro Cup, and obviously the Supercars Championships. There's 3 decent trophies that you want to be able to get your hands on. So I think that adds a level of excitement. I mean, back when DJ was racing, you had the Australian Endurance Championship, in addition to the Australian Touring Car Championship, and they're the sorts of things that you want to win.
But there are also a lot more circuits that they used to go and visit on a regular basis. Just not club meetings, but not championship meetings either.
There are plenty of other fantastic permanent circuits in Australia that we don't race at. So if we expanded the calendar, they would have to be natural considerations. But one of the things that we've got to look forward to, and we talked about it last time out, in 2028, we've got the Perth Street Circuit, and work's already started effectively in the shadows of Optus Stadium over there, and in the grounds around Crown Casino. So that's something to look forward to in the years ahead. There's talk about potentially racing in the Central Coast again, which would be fantastic too. So we'll see what happens. So
talking about new infrastructure, they've knocked down the pit lane at Albert Park. Are you looking forward to having a proper permanent pit structure for supercars in future down for the Australian Grand Prix meeting, or are you still going to be the poor relations out in the car park?
Yeah, I suspect we'll still be in the cheap seats out the back there somewhere. Yeah.
Are you going to put a positive spin on that by saying, isn't it great because we're out with the fans?
Yeah, it's great. No, we're on the world stage. I mean, look, it's I completely understand why we do it and why we're there, but the way in which that supercars precinct has been set up at Albert Park really makes what we do accessible. And you talk to the guys. There are plenty of punters who come and have a good look, because you don't need a paddock pass. You can get there with a GA pass. So it works out really well in terms of our accessibility, because as you know, the F1 paddock is effectively a closed shop. You can't go look at the supercars.
Not effectively,
event.
It is a closed shop.
You and I get our passes, of course. But
that's all we care about.
That's right.
At the end of the day.
I haven't been the last 2 years, but I've still got my pass each year, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's to make the sport accessible. Like, every time someone says supercars on the world stage, I just cringe a little bit. But we do have a massive audience at the Grand Prix, and to make our cars and our teams accessible, people get to see what we're doing, and it's good.
Okay, take off your DJR hat for just a second. Put on your I'm a motorsport enthusiast hat. What are you looking forward to seeing in Tasmania? Are you hoping that there's still a rival between Feeney and the young kid, and between Chaz and your guy? Do we need, I mean, rugby league used to have the slogan, bring back the biff. Okay, do we need to,
Hell yes.
does it need to be more roughhousey?
Oh, look, you need rivalries. When you have rivalries, when you have good guys, bad guys, Cowboys, Indians, however you want to put it, as one Enscape says, Labor versus Liberal, Carlton versus Collingwood, Red versus Blue. When you have those tribal rivalries, it's what the punters get behind, and you need more of it. You need more of it.
Do you think Toyota are adding to that tribal rivalry, or people still adjust? Or they just adjusting the fact? What's this other thing?
Look, I got to tell you, there's plenty of Hiluxes on the road, and Toyota sells plenty of cars. I think.
Well, I'm told they sold out of merch in New Zealand.
They'd be happy with that.
Well, you've got to be happy with that, don't you? You know,
right.
And as you say, they do sell a lot of cars.
They do.
But we haven't seen any strong-arming muscle yet. Do you think that's just because they were waiting to find out how they went? They didn't want to come along with a sledgehammer and then be hopeless?
If you look at their program, it's been incredibly well executed. They're competitive. They've won a race. They've got more than a couple of podiums. They're doing incredibly well. I think Walkinshaw have done a fantastic job with that package. They deserve a lot of credit for it.
Do they need to be slowed down?
No. I mean, they're still finding their feet. They're going to make that car faster, and they're going to be. They're going to. I mean, we're ultimately going to see Toyotas compete for the race win every time we hit the track, and that's fantastic. It's great for the sport. It's fantastic for the sport. Okay,
which drivers are you looking forward to seeing in Tasmania? What are the questions buzzing around? Buzzing. That's a new word. Buzzing around, swirling around in your head. What are you looking forward to seeing? What are the things? People who are watching this, tell them 3 things. Insider tips from you when they turn on the TV, or when they turn up, goodness sake, with all of their warm gear in Launceston. But when they turn the TV on, what are the 3 things, the Doc's tips?
Well, one of the things I'm looking forward to is to see whether Ryland Gray puts on that beanie with that massive bloody pom-pom thing on the top of it or not. That's probably the first one. I suspect that'll get a Guernsey again.
Have you managed to monetize that? Is there a merch version of it yet?
Go to djr.com.au and buy your merch, buy your Shell V Power Racing merch. Fantastic.
That's one.
No, it's not really. I mean, the most important thing for me, it's hard for me to separate myself too much from the red shirt. I want to see our cars fast. I want to see us roll out of the truck and be competitive and in the window and with the ability to run at the front. That's what we want to. That's what we're looking for straight away. I think it's going to be interesting to see where Ford versus Chev versus Toyota is in the mix. That'll be quite a fascinating one too. I think the third one is execution. I mean, the ability to get an undercut around that place. If you've got tyre under you, strategy plays a big part there.
Well, it's a very short lap, isn't it? Is it the shortest lap time of all?
It is, yeah.
So that creates all sort of strategic problems, doesn't it? Because if you muck it up, you can go a lap down.
Well, if you muck it up bad enough that you're going a lap down, you weren't going to have a good day anyway.
Right. Okay.
But you want to be really. You have to focus and be conscious of what everyone else is doing around you, because it's easy to get out of sequence, and sometimes you're not necessarily able to get that back. And
the rejoin there is fantastic for a spectator. You know, cars coming back out, gravel. There's a high degree of risk any time you do a pit stop there.
It's an old school track. It's a fantastic circuit. I mean, the amphitheatre, particularly around the hairpin, there is nothing better than going to Tassie and seeing a bucket load of people around that hairpin complex. You get a great view of the whole racetrack, just about.
Yeah.
But it's heartland supercars. I really think that it is. It's a terrific place, and the punters really get behind it. And biggest sporting event in Tasmania.
And what's the second biggest sport in Tasmania?
Daylight, I don't know.
It's a long way in front, isn't it? It's a very big deal.
Well, it's going to be interesting when they get their AFL team. I think there's a fair bit of water to go under the bridge.
Yeah, but that's in the other end of the state, isn't it?
It is, but still, it'll be interesting.
All right, that's about all we have for you this time. Great to spend some time with you. We can both raise a glass.
And look, the other thing is I've been asked by Colby, who's our lead machinist here, to have a look at the DJR Machine Shop Instagram and Facebook pages. He puts up some really cool videos.
Oh, right.
It shows what we make here in-house, and he always reveals more than what we'd like, all the secret IP and stuff. That's why it's worth looking at. And the great thing is, The marketing and social people have nothing to do with it. It's all Colby, so it's cool stuff. So have a look.
Excellent. I'm heading there right now.